Hello, my name is Molly Budd, and this is my Week 13 Reproductive Portfolio. In this presentation, I will be talking about the hormonal control of implantation and early embryonic development. As we all have learned, pregnancy is a complex process that occurs in the female body, which is tightly controlled by many of the hormones that I'm going to talk about in this presentation. Because it's such a complex process, as I mentioned, I will be mainly focusing on implantation and the early embryo and how the different hormones control these processes. Around day 14 of a woman's menstrual cycle, an egg is released in a process called ovulation. The open follicle that releases the egg seals off, forming what is called the corpus luteum, which begins to prepare the body for implantation. The two hormones that prepare the body at this stage are progesterone and estrogen. The corpus luteum produces progesterone, which thickens the uterine lining, and estrogen levels remain high, which also helps prepare for implantation. Ultimately, the fate of the corpus luteum depends on whether or not the egg becomes fertilized by a sperm. If the egg is not fertilized, the corpus luteum degenerates and the uterine lining is shed due to the dropping levels of both estrogen and progesterone. Because this presentation is focused on implantation, we can assume from here on out that the egg has successfully been fertilized by a sperm. Fertilization generally occurs in the distal fallopian tube and then must make its way to the uterus. This process and its journey to the uterus is facilitated by progesterone. Progesterone allows the smooth muscle of the fallopian tube to relax and let the embryo pass. The journey from the site of fertilization in the fallopian tube to the uterus takes roughly 4 to 5 days. Once the dividing embryo reaches the uterus, it is a ball of roughly 100 cells called a blastocyst. This structure develops into various structures throughout the rest of the pregnancy. In this bottom picture, you can see how the fertilized egg becomes the blastocyte through an evolutionary process. Roughly 7 days after fertilization is when implantation occurs. An enzyme secreted by the blastocyst allows the endometrium cells of the uterine wall to engulf the blastocyst and complete the formation of the placenta. Here, pregnancy has officially become, and the blastocyst is officially an embryo. The photo shown here is a 3D photo of the blastocyst becoming engulfed by the endometrial cells of the uterine wall. After the successful implantation of and the development of placental tissue, the embryo is ready to release a signal to the mother's body not to menstruate. This process is facilitated by the release of human chorionic gonadotropin, or HCG. This hormone is secreted by the chorionic villi and the developing placenta. This hormone allows the corpus luteum to continue producing progesterone to keep the endometrium intact. If the embryo did not release this signal, the corpus luteum, as I mentioned before, would degenerate and be sloughed off. Because the placenta takes over production of progesterone around week 7, this is where the HCG level peaks and the corpus luteum finally degenerates. In this graph, you can see that the peak of HCG levels occurs around 7 weeks and steadily decreases from there. Other than the maintenance of the corpus luteum, HCG is also important in testosterone production in male fetuses. Testosterone production in male fetuses is essential for the expression of male characteristics both before and after birth. Additionally, HCG is the hormone that a positive pregnancy test detects. HCG is produced in great volumes right away when pregnancy begins, therefore extra HCG is excreted in the urine, making it detectable by a urine test. To quickly review, the main hormones involved in implantation and early embryonic development are progesterone, estrogen, and HCG.